Good afternoon, everyone. Good. So I think all set. And during the course of this session, I will also check if my slides are visible or not. But I hope that should work. That should not be an issue. Right. So once again, I welcome all of you to this webinar, where we are talking about acting something on the layout and the implications of this layout with the efficiency of the organization. More important, does my layout impact my organization's P&L or profitability? So we will be discussing few pointers on it. And let me set the context about why we are planning this particular session. Fortunately, in last couple of months, I was able to meet various industry leaders across various geographies. I met some industry leaders from India, as well as I was able to meet some industry leaders from African continent. And there were many points which were getting discussed, but there was something which was coming a common point. And what was that common point was the growth story. While meeting with industry leaders from both these geographies, one thing which was coming very commonly, that everyone was saying that yes, we are expanding, we are on our growth journey, and as a part of our expansion plan, either we are building a new site, either it's a greenfield project, or we are expanding our existing plant and machinery. So it can be a brownfield project. So that's a really encouraging sign for all of us who are working in these geographies. I can see right now we have people from India on this webinar. There are members from Africa who have joined. There are members from the Middle East region also who have joined this webinar. And fortunately, there is a common thing which is coming up is everyone is a part of a growth journey. So a really fantastic growth journey which is there in the future. Most of the organizations are in their expansion mode, and as a part of their expansion mode, they're either acquiring land, either acquiring plant and machinery, altogether constructing a new plants or expanding the current units. So while discussing with them, I asked them my favorite question, which is related to this topic. The favorite question which I asked them is that, yes, you are expanding. So can I assume that with this expansion, of course, your revenue will grow up? No point of discussing, because as you add plant and machinery, ideally your revenue should go up. Your profit should also go up in equal proportion. But is your profitability? What is the profitability? Profitability is the profit percentage of sales. If my sales is 100 crore and I'm making, let's say, 10 crores of a profit, 10 divided by 100, that is 10% is my profitability. So I always used to ask them a question that I'm sure you are expanding. So are you also ensuring that along with this expansion, the layout which you are designing or in the process of designing, is it going to help you to improve your profitability percentage? And suddenly what used to happen as till the time I used to ask them, okay, are you going to increase your revenue? The answer was yes. Are you going to increase your profit in numbers? Most of them used to give answer as yes. But as soon as this question of profitability percentage was asked, there was a question mark in their mind. And they used to ask me a written question where they used to ask me that how it is related. How my layout, my expansion is related with the profitability percentage. It can be related with revenue growth. It can be related with the profits growth. But how it can be related with the profitability growth? And that's where I found there is a lack of awareness within the industry leaders also, that how layout impacts your profitability. And that's why we thought of having this webinar. I'm really happy to see that a very encouraging response has been received to this webinar. I thank all of you for investing your time for this particular session. And I'm sure by the end of the session, there will at least one takeaway for all of you. So the point which I'm going to discuss today, which is in line with what is the topic which we are discussing, is that how my layout impacts my efficiencies. And here, of course, operational efficiencies are they are important, but I'm also going to talk about how my layout impacts my business efficiencies. And if you talk about really business efficiency, there's only one measure which is a prominent measure which measures the efficiency of any business, that is your profitability percentage. The percentage of profit to the sales is a very, very important measure to measure any business efficiency. So today, in the course of our next discussion, we will definitely be deliberating on this particular point. On this, let me share you my screen. My screen visible to all of you? Let me know if my screen is visible to all of you. Good. I think there are a few responses I already started receiving that the screen is visible. So let me proceed. So let's understand how does my layout impacts my profitability. Now, for that, what I thought about is a simple mechanism. Let's understand, this is an important chart which we will be deliberating for maybe next 15-20 minutes. When we talk about business efficiency, already talked about is the parameter called profitability percentage. Now, the profitability percentage is reflected in one document which we call as a P&L document. P&L talks about profit and loss statement of any organization. Now, what typical P&L text? It talks about the revenue, how much the revenue the organization has generated. Then from that revenue, the variable cost is deducted, where direct material and indirect manpower cost is deducted. What you remain is the gross profits. From all those gross profit, all indirect expenses, all overheads are deducted, which brings you to the net profit before interest and tax. Very simple. Revenue minus all variable expenses gives you gross profit. From this gross profit, you deduct all fixed expenses, your overheads, that brings which are called as the indirect expenses, which takes you to the net profit before interest and taxations. So the question is, does my layout design process impacts all these cost elements? The answer is definitely a big yes. So and unfortunately, what happens when I interact with various business leaders, this aspect of layout relationship with P&L is always ignored. What we generally say when we design a layout, we always talk about, okay, I have X square feet of land, how much percentage of land I am utilizing? Or maybe I have some distance traveled by the material. So we always say that, okay, how much is the distance traveled by the material? So these are the typical two measures which I have seen people use while designing the layout. They generally talk about the space utilization. They all generally talk about the distance travel and how can we optimize that. Yes, those two are important parameters. But let me tell you, the layout is not just a piece of a paper on which plants and machineries are drawn. Layout indirectly is a replica of your P&L. Better the layout, and when I say layout, I'm not just restricting it to the placement of placement of machineries and other utilities. It goes much, much beyond it. And that's what we will be discussing, that how my layout impacts my profitability. And second, if at all I need to improve my profitability through this layout, what I should be doing. I hope this makes sense to all of you. Right. Thank you. So now let's understand. First of all, we talk about one big element which every organization uses is two big elements. In fact, labor cost and material cost. Whether you are direct and indirect labor. Now, direct labor is that labor which we use on machines, which work on the machine. Okay. And indirect labor is that labor which basically supports the direct labor. Now, these are the people who are, if you can ask, these are the people who are related works in the area of material handling, stores, and other department, right? Now, what happens? How my layout impacts my labor cost? If my layout is improper, it results into higher travel paths or long travel paths. It results into poor storage of tools and materials. It results into poor access to my tools and material. Indirectly, a poor layout gives congested zones. My zones gets congested, my distance travel increases. There's another factor also. A poor layout also talks about unbalanced lines. The lines are not balanced properly. The lines are not designed properly. The lines are not structured properly, so that the concepts like multi-machine manning. Today, we are not talking about one man, one machine. Everywhere we say that there is a concept called multi-machine manning, where you are expected that one person, one operator can operate multiple machines. If my layout is improper, definitely one man multi-machine gets impacted. If my layout is improper, if my workstation design is improper, my operator takes more time to perform the same set of activities. Automatically, I need more operators. I need more labor cost. My access to the tools and materials is not correctly designed. Let's say whether you take input material or output material, it is far from my working area, which we call as the line side design. If it is not designed properly, automatically my labor man minutes to produce a component increases, my labor cost increases. If even the access is not proper to these storage areas, to get the material from the storage area, it takes more man minutes, which impacts my labor cost. So a layout where lines are not designed properly, the material storage places are not designed properly, the travel paths are not mapped properly, this gives impact in certain operational parameter. And these operational parameter, of course, it increases my lead time. It increases my transportation index. Now, any one of you know what is the transportation index? Can you just, those who know the transportation index, can you write what is the transportation index? Just wait, pause for a minute. Give a try. What is the transportation index? Let me clarify now. Let's say, given a scenario that I give you 1 kilogram of material and I ask you to walk for 2 kilometers. 1 kilogram of material is with you and you are supposed to walk for 2 kilometers. I'm sure you will carry it easily and you will reach your destination maybe in 15 minutes, right? Now, let's say that 1 kilogram is replaced by 10 kilograms. Now, the same 2 kilometers, but you are supposed to carry 10 kilograms. Will you reach in 15 minutes? Yes or no? Definitely not. You will take more time to cover those 2 kilometers with a weight of 10 kilograms. Let's say now this 10 kilogram is replaced by 50 kilograms. Will you be able to carry by yourself without any other tools? The answer is no. You may hire a bike, you may hire a car, or you will hire some material handling equipment to carry that 50 kilogram to that 10 kilometer distance. Let's say this 50 gram increases to 500 kilograms. Sorry, 50 kilograms increases to 500 kilograms. What will you do? You will have much higher capacity material handling equipment. Maybe you may have to hire a truck to carry this material to this 2 kilometer distance. So what it indicates that generally whenever we measure if any layout, we always measure distance traveled. But distance travel, though it is an important measure, it is not sufficient. Because the cost of material handling doesn't depend only on the distance. The cost of material handling also depends on the weight that is being taken to cover that distance. How much weight I am carrying to cover that distance. As my distance travel increases, or as my weight that I carry to cover that distance increases, my material transportation cost also increases. So this particular parameter, which we say that distance traveled multiplied by the weight, is called as the transportation index. When I review various layouts, even made by some of the so-called operational excellence compliant organizations, always see they only measure the distance travel. None of them measure the transportation index. That's where this transportation index is very, very important parameter, because as your transportation index will increase, your material handling cost through labor, where the labor that you will be involving in the material handling, that will go up. Similarly, the equipments that you will be involving to carry this material handling will also go up. So any increase in transportation index has a straight relation with labor cost increase and material handling cost increase. Similarly, if my layout is not proper, my lines are not designed properly, my workstations are not designed, because workstation design cannot be separated from the layout design. Automatically, what happens, as I said, it consumes more man minutes, means in turn, your labor productivity goes down. And last and not the least, the throughput time, the time it takes from the start of first process till the end of last process. As my layout is basically, if I say the distance traveled by the material in the layout goes high, my throughput time also goes high by that. So improper layout design, which includes improper line design, which includes improper workstation design, which includes improper storage space design, straight away impacts my lead time, straight away impacts my transportation index, straight away reduces my labor productivity and increases my throughput time. And all this also increases something called as a labor cost per unit. Similarly, it also impacts my material cost, whether it's a direct material is that material which goes into the product, or indirect material like tools and toolings. If my material storage areas are not near to the point of use, automatically my distance to carry that material increases. As my distance increases, my transportation index increases. I already talked about it. Along with that, the chances of material damage, material pilferage, defects in the material due to material handling, all those things increases as my transportation cost index increases. So definitely, as my transportation index increases, my material cost also increases because of material damage, material pilferage. Even my controls also goes down. Let's say my material storage area is far away from the working area. My control on my material storage also goes down, so which also impacts some of the unethical practices that starts getting followed there. So automatically what happens that as my layout becomes improper, my distance from the point of storage to the point of consumption increases, my material cost goes high. Of course, my WIP goes high, my storage space required goes high, but very important, my material cost goes high, my inventory turn ratio goes down, and since I am storing now more material, my capital gets tied up. So that's another impact of layout on my material cost. And for manufacturing organizations, material cost is somewhere between 50 to 60% of their total cost. So layout has a straight direct impact on 50 to 60% of your material cost, 10 to 15% on your labor cost. Not only that, does improper layout also impacts the revenue, the top line? Again, the answer is yes. Improper layout represents unbalanced lines. The lines are not balanced properly. Improper workstations, inadequate space for even machine maintenance. If the line is not balanced properly, it will give lower output per hour. If the workstation is not balanced properly, again it will give lower output per hour. A lower output per hour means straight away lower revenue per hour. Similarly, if I have not designed my layout to give adequate space for machine maintenance, what happens in case of any breakdowns or even in case of a preventive maintenance, it takes more time to maintain or bring that equipment to the working condition. So automatically my breakdown time or preventive maintenance time, which itself is a non-valuable time, increases. I get less time to produce the product, so automatically my revenue impacts. So improper layout, improper lines, improper workstation also impacts my revenue, where my daily output goes down. My order fulfillment ratio to the customer, on time in full order fulfillment ratio to the customer goes down. My revenue also goes down. Then there is another parameter in which is called SG&A, which is selling and general administrative expenses. So improper layout calls for more space. More space calls for additional either purchased cost of the land or rented. If you are like renting a land, your rent also goes high. So straight away, your cost goes high, your revenue per square foot goes down, your overheads goes up, your capex also goes up. Similarly, there's another element in any P&L which we call as a scrap and cost of goods sold, where there is a subheading which is scrap and rework. Now, many organizations, generally we, as a part of our manufacturing process, we do develop certain scrap. And for certain organizations, now I was working with one of the aluminum manufacturing company where even scrap is sold at a good rate. Managing the scrap itself is an important activity, right? So now, if my layout has not thought of a proper scrap storage and control mechanism, what happens is my scrap reporting becomes inaccurate, and then my yield also goes down. My material cost again goes up. So even your scrap storage and control mechanism plays a big role in your P&L also. And last but not the least, we all know how the energy and utility prices are going up. The energy, the fuel cost, it is going up day by day, right? And what happens if the layout is not properly designed? It straight away impacts my energy and fuel cost. I may require more energy to run the same set of operations. I may require more fuel to run the set of operations. Let's say my compressor is away from my point of use. So definitely my piping cost increases, which is a marginal cost. But then my pressure drop also increases. So I have to bring more higher capacity equipments to ensure that my machine gets adequate pressure. So what it impacts, it also increases my energy consumption. My energy loss also goes up. My energy and fuel cost per unit piece goes up. If you look at it very, very carefully, we talked about few heads. We talked about one head which is called direct material cost, indirect material cost. We talked about direct labor. We talked about indirect labor. We talked about overheads, overheads in terms of rent overheads. Second, scrap and rework related overheads, energy and fuel related overheads. All these contributes to almost 85 to 90% of your cost parameters in your P&L. So 85 to 90% of the cost parameters in the P&L has a straight and a direct relationship with the way your layout is designed. So layout is not just about how much square feet of land I am using. It's not just about how much is my distance travel. That's one element of it. Layout represents your P&L. And not only expenses, we also see that my correct layout design also impacts my top line, that is my revenue. So it gives that multiplier effect. A poorly designed layout reduce your revenue and will increase your increase your cost. Means what? A poorly designed layout reduces my profitability. Whereas opposite of it, a well thought, nicely designed layout increases my revenue and reduces my cost, means it increases my profitability. So guys, when you are on your expansion mode through a greenfield or a brownfield project, don't look it just as a layout. Look it that you are not designing a layout, but you are designing your future P&L. And this is the right time when you are on a drawing board that you design P&L very strong. So many people ask me, so how do I design this layout? Because they say that traditionally what we are doing, as soon as we get a plans that now this is the time we have to expand, the first thing we do, we go to our drawing board and we start mapping our layout. That's a typical process which most of the organization operates. I say it's a typical process and it's a typical mistake also which you do. As soon as you get a plan that you are going to expand, don't straight away jump to the layout. Layout is not an enabler, layout is the result. There are so many things which you will have to work before coming to the layout. And understanding this need of the industry, or I can say this lack of awareness in the industry and industry leaders, we designed a framework. So basically before that, of course, we already discussed this bad layout affects profitability, it affects all the 8 stages. So we designed a framework which is called lean facility design. Now, this lean facility design is a 15-step process. It's a 15-step process, and if you carefully observe, the layout design is at step number 13, 1-3. Step 1 to 12 are all preparatory processes. What it means that when you decide that I'm going to work on my expansion plans, I want to expand my facilities through greenfield or brownfield type of project, you should not be directly going to the layout, but you should ideally be practicing this 12-step first, complete these 12 steps, and then go to the layout. Which are these 12 steps? Of course, we don't have enough time to talk about each and every step. Here we talk about training the team members, that you should train your team members in terms of how layout impacts the profitability, how to see value-adding, non-value activities, how to ensure that whatever facility, that's why we don't call it as a layout, we call it as a facility. Whatever the facility you design, it should be lean from the day one. Then the second very important steps, we call it process quantity or sometimes process product quantity analysis as well. Here you should map like what kind of products I am going to make, in how much quantities I am going to make, what kind of a process flow I am going to follow, what type of operations I am going to engage into, what kind of equipments I am going to install in my on my new site. So everything, for example, this particular step of we call it PPQ analysis is like a blueprint that it gives you 5 answer of questions like what I am going to make, in how much quantity I am going to make, which are the operations that will be there in my facility, which are the type of equipments I am going to use, and finally, what kind of a process flow I am going to follow. So one sheet gives the answer of 5 questions of the future. So this is a very, very important step. Then identify how many value streams are there in your layout. Like we talk about what is a value stream, it's a simply factory within factory concept. So you should know that how many such value streams are there, how many such profit centers. I'm not going to call it as a cost center, but I'm going to call it as a profit center. How many such profit centers which you want to have in your new facility? Identify your value stream, and for each value stream, map it carefully through a process called current state mapping. In current state mapping, you identify all the issues which you are currently facing in your current layout. Not only when you say current state mapping, it is called material and information flow mapping. It's not only the issues which are related to the layout, all the problems which you are facing in your operations needs to be mapped. Because please understand, it is statistically proven, we have designed at least more than 100 such facilities where 80% of the operational problems can be capped if the layout is designed properly. 80% of your operational challenges can be addressed in a layout design stage only. So that's where your current state mapping is very important. And based on that, you design your future state. Design the flow of what? Design the flow from raw material receipt to raw material dispatch. That is called as a material flow. Information receipt from the customer to the information given back to the customer, which is called as the information flow. So when you design a flow, you have to design both material flow and information flow. Then go to the next step, that is capacity planning, because the layout is only for, whenever any organization designs a layout, they don't design only for 1 year, 2 years. It's a layout of the future. It should survive a good number of years. So as you grow in the future, definitely you increase your capacity with certain milestones. So you have to identify those milestones. Let's say if I'm producing 100 today, my next milestone is 120. After that, it's 150. So you'll say, okay, why not I'm designing a capacity for 100, what type of layout I require? When I go from 100 to 120, what are those equipments that will get added? What are the changes which I will be doing at that point of time in the layout? So you should be knowing, let's say from 100, your plan is to go to 500 with different milestones. Your layout of 500 should be ready today. If that is not done, when you go from 100 to 200, you will disturb the entire layout, and that's where you will grow, but your cost will also grow. So that's where when you say capacity planning, map the various milestones in your capacity and make your layout. So you already know that if I go from 100 to 500, what will be the per square foot revenue? What will be the distance travel of my various value stream at that point of time? What is my today's distance travel? What will be my transportation index at that point of time? So your layout should be futuristic. It should not be a short-term future, but it has to be a long-term futuristic. Then, of course, very important element of manpower planning. How much manpower should I use? That's where concepts like line balancing, manpower balancing, work content reduction, there's so many industrial engineering techniques which you will have to plan right at the layout design stage, so that your labor hours per piece goes down, your productivity, manpower productivity goes up. Then supermarket design. We don't call it stores design. Why we said supermarket design? Because supermarket operates on a set of rules, set of inventory management, again, I can say inventory management, material management, everything. So for everything, there's a rule. Supermarket talks about PFAP, plan for every part. So don't design store, but convert your stores to a supermarket where each and every part is managed with a plan. When you apply a proper supermarket design using the concepts of inventory management like fixed time variable quantity model or variable time fixed quantity model, you can work with very less material. Your material inventory in days goes to the rock bottom. You can produce more with less material in the stock. So your even space also goes down. The space requirement also goes down. Then you go with a line side design where you design, okay, this is my main assembly line. What are the items that should be near to my assembly line so that my time losses due to availability of material are as minimum as possible. After that, you design the material handling equipments, cost effective and energy effective, environment friendly material handling design. As per the type of layout which you have, as per the materials that you are going to transfer, the distance through which you are going to cover to transfer this material, design appropriate, cost friendly, environment friendly material handling equipment. And after you all these, then you go to a drawing board and start designing your layout. No, of course, the question comes, is there a best layout? See, every layout will have certain pros, it will have certain cons. So now if I have 2 to 3 different options, which option to go for? My answer is very simple. For every layout, calculate the transportation index of that layout, and the layout which has the lowest transportation index is the layout of future. So for every layout, you should calculate the transportation index, and the layout which has the lowest transportation index is the layout of your future. After that, at design stage only, make sure that you design a visual factory. Now, visual factory is also misinterpreted. Many times, visual factory means all those direction boards. Yes, direction boards are important parameter, but it is not the only thing. When you say visual factory, we talk about one, visual displays, very important, visual dashboards, and visual controls. What are the visual displays you will be doing so that you identify which part of your layout is in which corner? Second, visual dashboards. Which types of dashboard that needs to be seen on, whether it's a physical dashboard or a digital dashboard? What different types of dashboards are required so that I get a real-time data? That is also part of your visual factory. And third, visual controls in terms of your and-on systems, in terms of the Pokayoke system, what type of different visual controls I am going to put in. So all those things needs to be designed on the layout. So generally, whenever we design any layout at design stage only, we know that when this layout will get constructed, the shed will get constructed, which visual display will be at what corner, which visual dashboards will be at what corner of the line, and very important, what visual control systems will be placed right before the layout starts functioning. After that, definitely you should go for a risk assessment planning where you map safety risk, environmental risk, and all hazard risks which are associated with the layout, and then design and implementation from the layout design stage to your ribbon cutting day. What is the step-by-step process so that even the construction time and everything goes down. So my friends, if at all you want to improve your profitability through the good layout, I strongly recommend that follow this 15-step process. Very important. Don't directly jump to the layout design. First, complete this 12 process, then go to the layout. But then even after completing layout, don't stop there. Follow this last 2 steps also, which is the visual factory risk assessment and implementation planning. So wherever we have implemented, what it has given a benefit is that it has given a 20%, 40% impact in the revenue. Whatever the client had planned before, from the same space, from the same set of everything, we were able to improve the revenue by 40%. we were able to reduce the distance travel by 35%, but yes, transportation index was reduced by more than 51%. That's a big. So take very simply, if my transportation index is getting reduced by 51%, my material handling cost is also getting reduced by 51%. Throughput time was reduced by more than 20%, and labor productivity increase in the range of 20 to 30%. So these are some of the benefits. Of course, every layout is different, every facility is different, but similar benefits are also seen at each and every factory or facility where this 15-step methodology was implemented. So I highly recommend you that when you are planning for a greenfield or brownfield expansion, make sure that you follow these 15 steps very meticulously, and that's where improve your profitability. So that's something which I thought that I should discuss with all of you today. I'm sure it will add value to you. In case you need any further information about how to implement this 15 step, or you need any support, our coordinates are there on your screen. You can take a screenshot of this particular thing. You can contact us on these numbers given, or reach to us through our website or through the email ID which is there on your screen. We will be happy to assist you wherever we can. So thank you very much. So with this, I take a pause in my discussion, and now I'm opening this particular discussion for question answer session. I'm open for any question answers which you might be having. You can type your questions, and whichever are possible, I will try to address all of those. Right. So, any questions? Please type. You can type your questions. There is a question which says, could you share a real life case study where lean facility design significantly transformed plant's performance? My friend, there are a number of case studies. Let me share you one case study, maybe a couple of case studies. Recently, we were working with one of the composite manufacturing company. They have this processes called pulverization, extrusion machines, and the equation was very simple. More the machines, more is the revenue. So initially they had, whatever the layout they designed, they had planned for 5 machines that they were able to accommodate in the given set of facility. We applied all this 15-step process. What it impacted, that after doing all this 15-step process, we could, first of all, instead of 5 lines, we were able to accommodate 7 lines. So 2 divided by 5 is 40%. So straight away it was having an impact of 40% additional revenue. The number of people, I'm not going to talk about absolute numbers, but the productivity got improved by 35%. The labor cost got reduced by 35%. The inventory that they were planning to carry versus with this new model using the principles of fixed time, variable quantity, variable time, fixed quantity models, the inventory in terms of number of days or in terms of inventory turn ratio, that got improved by 40%. Means again, it also improved my working capital. It also impacted that I need 40% less space to store the item. Okay. So all those parameters improved with them. There is another example also where we also work with one of our, all of us drink tea in the morning, right? So we use our favorite cup to drink the tea. So we work with one of those manufacturer of all those cups and glasses. There we were able to increase its productivity by 100%. The manpower they had planned, actually after doing a proper facility design using all these concepts of line balancing, workstation design, ergonomic application of ergonomic things, reducing the transportation index, the labor requirement straight away came by 50%. Of course, the revenue per square feet also improved by more than 30%. So all those are the benefits. There are n number of benefits. In fact, I'm happy to share that till date we have designed more than almost 100 such sites, and everywhere similar results are observed. So this is a very, very proven thing. So don't worry about it. I hope I'm answering your question. So any other question? I'm open to take few more before we end the session. Oh, there are many piling up now. Okay. So it says that great learning to know about transportation index. My pleasure. Thank you very much. You are most welcome. How can manufacturing facility layout designs be made more adaptable to frequent changes in product variety, production volumes, and technology while minimizing disruption, cost, and risk to ongoing operations? Very important question. See, of course, today we are living in an era where the flexibility is the name of the game. Your today's product may not continue for tomorrow. Even the customer preferences will change in the shortest possible time. That's where my layout has to be an agile layout. So that's where your lean facility design makes a big impact. How does it make impact? First, your product process quantity analysis as an important tool to check what kind of an adaptability you need. Second important element of it is something called the equipment capacity planning. That's the second important step. Third important step, your equipment selection. What type of equipments are you going to get? Are you going to purchase one big equipment or 3 small equipments? If one big equipment, your flexibility is limited. But if multiple small equipments, you still have a flexibility. Will you be procuring equipments which requires all those construction activity for taking the vibrations, or are you going to use the latest state-of-the-art vibration pads so that you don't have to dig the pallets and you don't have to dig the potholes to install an equipment? So these are some basic things which needs to be thought at the layout design stage. And fortunately, in lean facility design, these are the 2-3 steps which I already talked about: PPQ analysis, capacity planning, and equipment selection. These are the 3 very powerful steps where these questions gets asked, and that's how the flexibility is built into the layout right at the design stage. You share some early warnings. I hope I'm answering your question. So I'll go to the next question. Can you share some early warning signs that indicate layout inefficiencies before they start affecting overall output? Yes, there are many. But honestly speaking, why you want an early warning signs after you design the layout? Because if you are not taken a proper care, their signals are going to come and effect will going to happen. Now, some of the early warning signs, one is, of course, you are failing on your on-time in full deliveries. Second early warning signs, your material reconciliation is not proper. Like your system stock versus physical stock is not matching. It's an indication that your layout also has inefficiencies. You have many material handling damages. That's also an indication. Your labor productivity is not up to the mark is an indication. Your laborers are complaining about fatigue is an indication. Your costs are going up is an indication. So these are the certain signs which says that there is a need to relook at your facility. I go to the next question. How do Industry 4.0 elements integrate with facility layout design? Very important. We are already in the area of Industry 4.0. So again, that brings to this makes this point more important, that when you are designing your layout, again, your equipment selection stage, all aspects of your equipment selection stage has to consider the Industry 4.0 integration. Instead of buying a regular equipment, can I buy an Industry 4.0 compliant equipment? That's where Industry 4.0 immediately gets integrated with the layout or facility design. Another aspect, I have already talked about visual management. There are 3 elements, in which second element was visual dashboards. And that's where again your industry 4.0 is applicable. You should get real-time data through industry 4.0, right? Then the next, how can we implement lean manufacturing in the pesticides industry on initial level? Very, very simple answer. Irrespective of the industry, follow these 15 steps. These 15 steps are industry neutral. We have applied it on in chemical industries. We have applied it in pharmaceutical industries. So each and every industry segment, these 15 steps are implementable. For more details, you can reach out to us. We can give you more details on how can we apply it. Is this lean facility design applicable for greenfield and brownfield? I think I have already talked. Whether it's a greenfield or brownfield doesn't make a difference. For both, this toolkit is very much applicable, as at the end of the day, whether it's a greenfield or brownfield, what you are more interested is that your profitability has to go up. If it's a new business of new entrepreneur, then is CSM applicable, as they may not be having a chronic issue stage wise? What should be the approach? Of course, if you are starting from zero, definitely you don't have any current state. But the question is, can you plot a current state? Like, for example, we always do this DFME or PFME. You have not designed the product. You have not designed the process. You are in the stage of designing a product or process. So what you say that, okay, in order to address all the problems that I might occur through this process design or product design, I will do DFME or PFME. Similarly, in which what you do in a D and PFMEA, you predict all the futuristic problem and then you come up with the counter measures to prevent those problems. Similarly, when you are coming with a new business, you should do current state mapping, in which you can map your process. First of all, the question will come whether you know your process or not. If you don't know your process, go back to your drawing board. Let's say you know your process, then you can map what can be the potential issues that can come in this process. So here, like a DFME, PFME, we predict some of the issues. Here also, one can predict the issues which can happen in the future. Okay. And then through FSM, you come up with the solutions to prevent those issues. So it doesn't make, so when it's a already running facility, you have those issues present in front of you, so which can be easily mapped. In case of a new facility, you can imagine and predict certain issues and then also come up with the solutions associated with it. Good. I think we are coming to the end of our session. Yes, I tried to answer all those questions and queries which you have. Last and not the least, maybe what you can do or how you felt about this session. Was it helpful? Was it value adding? You can type in your chat box, and if at all anyone has any takeaway from this session, just write what was your takeaway from today's session. I will wait for another couple of minutes before closing the session. Write your feedbacks, write your takeaways, whatever you would like to write in your chat box. Thanks for those feedbacks. Thank you very much for investing your time, and my best wishes to all of you for your future expansion projects. Thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye.